My son, who earns a lot of money, and you, who don't work, don't get along. My son and I want to live here now, so please leave right away. One day when my husband, who usually stays in his room, was out, the intercom at my house buzzed a lot. When I opened the door, my mother-in-law was there, looking excited. Surprised by her sudden visit, I asked, "Hello, mother-in-law. What brings you here at this time?" But before I could say anything else, she scolded me for not answering the intercom right away. She didn't believe I was working. She said I was just being lazy. I tried to explain, but she didn't listen. She thought it was unfair that I lived a comfortable life here without working while benefiting from my son's salary. She said my son, and she wanted to start a new life here without me, and she gave me divorce papers to sign. I was shocked, but I didn't show it. I calmly signed the papers. Inside, I felt relieved, but inwardly, I couldn't help but chuckle at how much she misunderstood. She didn't know anything about me. My name is Nancy, and I work from home as a freelance writer and editor. I used to work for a publishing company, so I've used that experience to keep a stable income. Even when I worked at the publishing company, it was normal to work late or on weekends, but the pay was good, and with salary bonuses and rewards from copyrights, I saved a lot. Despite the ups and downs of freelancing, I've been able to live comfortably. I met my husband Dylan while we both worked at the publishing company. He was an aspiring writer, and I supported his passion. Eventually, our appreciation for each other turned into love, and we got married. At first, our marriage was fulfilling. We supported each other's careers. After we got married, I switched to freelancing from home. Until then, I believed that both my husband and in-laws understood and appreciated my work and income. But over time, it seemed like they misunderstood my work more and more. My in-laws held traditional values from their generation. Working from home wasn't common for them, and they saw freelancing as unstable compared to my husband's regular job. So they didn't value my work as much. Additionally, Dylan began boasting to his parents about his success as a renowned writer. Because of this, my in-laws' cold attitude towards me intensified. Every time we met, they'd make sarcastic remarks like, "Oh, well, look, it's Nancy, who doesn't seem to work much. What brings you here today? Looking for a job recommendation?" I tried to reassure my mother-in-law about our financial situation, saying, "If you're concerned about our living expenses, I apologize, but I'm earning well, so there's no need to worry." But she responded sarcastically, implying that I should be more grateful to Dylan, because without him, I'd be in trouble. My mother-in-law had traditional values from her generation, where women typically managed the household while men worked outside. Seeing me work from home, she likely assumed I was avoiding housework. This story highlights the differences in generations and cultures, as well as the misunderstandings and challenges within a family. Mother-in-law, freelancing means that you can earn a good income even without going to an office and working from home. Nowadays, with technological advancements, we can work from anywhere, and my job falls into that category. However, my mother-in-law responded angrily, accusing me of talking back and calling me an unpleasant daughter-in-law. She insisted that it wasn't natural for a young woman to spend her days messing around with a computer at home. These kinds of conversations have been happening more often lately, and I was honestly getting tired of it. I bit back my retort, thinking, not this topic again. In reality, I was the main breadwinner and handled most of the housework, but I didn't say it out loud. At first, her complaints only came up when Dylan wasn't around, but recently, she'd been openly criticizing me, especially during family dinners at her house. It felt more like a session to criticize me than anything else. Despite being invited, only Dylan's portion of food would be on the table, and there was no seat for me, making it very uncomfortable. Moreover, I heard unpleasant comments from her and my father-in-law about me to other relatives. I was often surprised and hurt by their attitudes, but what irritated me more was Dylan's silence. They saw Dylan as a successful author and relied on him for money, often asking him to buy things. This was funded by the money I earned. Initially, it was a small amount, but lately we were spending almost $2,000 monthly for his parents. I decided to talk to Dylan about it. I told him I wanted him to stop giving my earnings to his parents without asking me first. But his response was colder than I expected. He said, "You're earning money while relaxing at home, right? It's easy money. So why not let my parents use a bit of it?" I was shocked by his words. It felt like the last straw. I felt betrayed, confused, and sad. Even though we faced challenges with his parents and our different backgrounds, I believed Dylan was on my side. That reassurance shattered with his words. Dylan, who I thought understood my feelings and efforts, ended up joining those who mocked me behind my back. I remembered our first date, when he passionately talked about his work, shared dreams, and values. I was drawn to his enthusiasm and sincerity, but lately he seemed to have forgotten his dreams and passion, spending his days aimlessly, often engrossed in games. This was completely different from the person he was when we first met. Games aren't inherently bad, but his obsession made him neglect his passion for writing, which saddened and angered me. I started questioning if I should continue my future with Dylan. If our relationship continued, what would become of my life? Even when I tried to imagine a future with him, I could only see a bleak future. So I decided to divorce him and secretly began looking for a new place to live. I searched online for apartments suitable for singles and visited a few properties for viewing. I focused on apartments with a quiet living environment and strong security. Finally, I decided on one property. One day, when Dylan, who usually played games in his room, was out, my mother-in-law visited. I was surprised by her sudden visit, so I opened the door without waiting. She sat on the living room sofa and bluntly said, "Nancy, you should leave this place." I was too shocked to respond. "What are you saying all of a sudden?" I asked. "Isn't it obvious? You're bad at housework, and even after Dylan became a popular author, you haven't changed. Above all, you can't even work properly," she said. "But I've told you many times that it's a misunderstanding, haven't I?" I tried to explain, but my mother-in-law interrupted me, smiling gently. "I plan to live here and support. Dylan taking care of him is much better than looking after that noisy old lady." By noisy old lady, do you mean Dylan's grandmother? Yes, that woman who is technically my mother-in-law. Even though I've done so much for her, she always finds fault, shows no gratitude, and I'm fed up. If I live here, I can take care of Dylan, and he can focus on his work without any hindrance. Isn't that wonderful? With that, she pulled out a piece of paper from the envelope she held. "So, would you please leave this house immediately?" As I listened to her words, I accepted the divorce papers she held out. They had been signed by Dylan. "Did Dylan really sign this?" I asked. "A little while ago. I suggested to Dylan that it might be better for both of you to get a divorce. It seems he was fed up with you too because he signed it without hesitation," she said with a playful tone. Everything that followed happened so quickly. I took my pre-packed bags and promptly decided to move to a new apartment. During the move, I also managed to file the divorce papers, and a new life began. My new life was smoother and more comfortable than I had expected. My small apartment had only essential furniture and appliances, and its simplicity seemed to boost my focus. I was free from complications, and each day was calm and peaceful. I'd wake up to natural light streaming in through the window and the sound of birds chirping in the distance. I could get up whenever I wanted, eat breakfast, and plan my day. When I started working, I'd get so engrossed that time would fly by. It felt heavenly not having to worry about the gaze and expectations of Dylan and my parents-in-law, and to be able to work at my own pace. One day, as I was engrossed in work at my desk, my smartphone vibrated. It was a call from Dylan. I hesitated but decided to answer. "Nancy, please come back right now," a desperate Dylan pleaded. "Why would you want me to come back all of a sudden?" I asked. To be honest, my parents found out I lied about being a popular author. I'm under immense pressure now. They're even talking about moving in, expecting to live off my earnings. So please, can you come back? "I see. But returning isn't that simple." You chose to sign the divorce papers, didn't you? So did I. We're not on the same path anymore. So deal with your issues yourself. It's none of my business, I responded firmly. His voice was a mix of desperation and sadness. But I believe we should be together. Please come back. We've chosen different lives now, I said firmly. I could hear Dylan taking a deep breath on the other end. I understand. But since the divorce, there have been many troubles, and it's costing me a lot. I need assistance with expenses like the care fees for our parents and compensations for the chaos it caused. Why are you suddenly talking about this? I think your decisions played a part in ruining all of my plans. How dare you? Remember when we were married? How you and your parents mocked me? I didn't want to say this, but now you seem like an enemy. Your financial troubles arise because you don't work properly. Find another way to sort it out. I wish you wouldn't rely on me for everything, I said, feeling a mix of frustration and anger. With that, I ended the call. Despite numerous subsequent calls from Dylan, I blocked him and changed my number. A few months later, I happened to pass by where his house used to be. Instead of his house, there was now just an empty land. A nearby resident told me about the recent disputes at his place, with the police getting involved at times. The neighbor's words seemed to contain all the emotions of the situation. You must have gone through a lot too. There must have been a lot of turmoil leading to the loss of his house. I stood there for a while, reflecting on our past. The unexpected outcome might be some kind of karma. Dylan's little lie had such a significant impact, more unbelievable than any story he might have written. From then on, I pledged to myself to live honestly, expressing my feelings and thoughts without lies or pretense, no matter how challenging things get. I recognized the importance of conveying the truth and cherishing genuine feelings.